Welcome back to the Movement for Life podcast. My name is Kolby Krystofik. I am your host, where we talk about all things staying moving throughout our life. Today, I am joined by Coach Nicci. Nicci is our newest and youngest coach on staff here at Oxnard Movement. We're doing a little series where we get to talk with all of our current staff, and you guys get to know a little bit more about the personal side of all of our coaches and not necessarily the coaching side or the CrossFit side. But before we start and get into some questions, we always start this podcast with ways that we moved in the last week. So Nicci, I will hand it over to you. Tell me some stuff that you did in the last week to move.
I did a lot of swimming.
Okay.
Yeah, in the ocean. So
Okay.
that was good. It's always a good time.
Maybe you tell us what you did.
I took a lifeguard test. First ocean race ever of my life. So that was really fun, actually. And I surfed a few times this week. And I've been doing lots of CrossFit. And yeah.
Did you surf on Sunday?
I did.
Oh my gosh.
I surfed at Rincon.
And it was good.
And it was good. It was very good.
I cried a little bit because I did not surf. And it looked really good.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Yeah.
Awesome. I played some pickleball. I did some CrossFit. I actually did 3 days of CrossFit last week, which I felt really good about. And I did not play any softball last week. Normally I play in a softball league.
Are you on the team?
I'm on Matt? 2 different teams. I'm in and played in a total of 2 games so far this season. And there's been several games, but I am a bad teammate. No, life is just busy. And sometimes there's games at 8:50 at night. And That's coach
bedtime
early mornings. So it's hard to make those happen. Thanks for sharing. Nicci, you are our newest coach. You have been a coach since fall of 2023, so just over a year. Is that right?
Yep.
Got your level 1 in the summer of 2023?
April
of 2023, and that was just after doing our coaches development program. And you've been coaching. I was actually just looking at your sheet today. You are almost at 500 hours.
Wow.
For coaching hours. And we're just over a year, about, right? We were August or September. So about 500 hours in a year. I think that's close to like 28 classes on average, or 30 something classes on average per month. So that's quite a few. Love it. But we are not here to only talk about CrossFit stuff today. I want everyone to get to know the other side of Nicci. So let's start kind of early. I know these are fresh memories for you. A couple of weeks ago, I had Isabel on, and we were talking about high school, and that might be a little bit easier for you to remember high school than it is for her to remember high school. Where are you from originally, Nicci, and where did you go to high school?
I am from Delmoni, Saskatchewan, which is in Canada, and I went to Delmoni High School, which is a very small town. My graduating class of grade 12 had 35 students in it.
Graduating class had 35 students.
My high school was from grade 7 to grade 12, and it had like 250 kids.
The whole school?
The whole school.
Wow.
Very small.
Did you know everyone?
Pretty much.
All right.
Yeah.
How big was your town then?
Like 2,000, I think.
Wow.
Maybe 3. I don't know. Not very big.
My high school had 3,800 students.
Yeah, it's nuts.
My high school was bigger than your entire town.
Yeah.
And there was 4 of those high schools in my city.
That's crazy.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, so small town Canada. For those of you who have not already Googled, where in Canada is this small town?
It's in the province of Saskatchewan, which
Okay.
is like a state, but it's not a state, it's a province.
Okay.
And it's like above North Dakota and Montana, my state or my provinces.
All right.
Yeah. So it's pretty landlocked. It's very
I was
inland.
gonna say I thought it was further east than that.
It's
So
on the western
learning.
half
Oh.
of Canada, but it's like it's not on
almost
the
dead
coast.
center.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. What were some things that you did for fun in high school?
I did track and field, which was like I competed in that. I guess that was like fun.
Okay.
I lived on a farm, so honestly, a lot of the things that we did for fun was like yard work. I gotta like, or we would like drive quads around the fields and like drive dirt bikes and like just go find random stuff to do. It wasn't like it's not very much to do where I grew up. Like it's flat.
What kind of farm was it?
We lived on an acreage, so we have 7 acres. My parents still live there.
Okay.
We have 7 acres, and we have like, when I was in high school, we had like pigs, cows, chickens. We had sheep for a second. We had like a goat. We had ducks for a little while.
Did you raise them to eat them or raise them to sell them?
We raised them to eat them. I would buy pigs every spring, and I would raise them up. And we would sell them to the butcher at the end of the season, and I would get money for it. And that was like my first like job, basically. When I was in grade 7, so I was 12, I think.
Okay.
That was the first time I did that. I got pigs as a Christmas present, and I've raised them.
Is there a quote unquote 4-H in Canada too?
There is, yeah, but I did not do 4-H. 4-H is not to like 4-H is to be like, here's my pretty cow, and you like walk it around and like show everyone how nice your cow is, but you don't really eat 4-H animals.
But you can still sell them, right?
You can sell them, but I don't know. I never did it. Most people did it with horses.
Got it.
Like where I was.
Because I recently heard a story that is how somebody that we both know, Teller, like basically paid his way through college. Is he sold his 4-H animals, and apparently it was like people overpay for the animals because they're from 4-H.
Really?
And so you would get.
Where is he from? Like, where did he do this?
I think in California.
Yeah, that's probably why.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't in the middle of nowhere, Canada.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun. So raised all sorts of different animals. Do you have any weird or fun or disgusting stories? Oh, you need to share some of this. I know that you used to work on a dairy farm as well. And it was kind of crazy. Tell me about some of that experience.
Yeah, I worked on a dairy farm in grade 12 and in that summer, and I definitely had a lot of interesting and hilarious things happen, I guess, but my shift would start at 3:45 in the morning, so I'd have to go to the farm that early, and I milked cows, so I would put all the cows through the dairy cows, so they're huge. They're like over 1,000-pound animals. They're like 6 feet tall. So if I would go in the pen, if I had to push up any of them, they're all like taller than my head. I was the only girl who worked there. But yeah, I did it. I did well, honestly. Like the owners said they really liked me as a worker, and they were really sad when I had to leave, but I got covered in a lot of cow poop every single day. There was one day that I untwisted the wrong like screw thing on one of the milk containers, and the pipe exploded, and I got completely soaked in milk. Like warm milk was not nice. And then I still had like 2 hours of my shift left. My little brother worked there at the time. He was in like grade 7. He was little. And I asked him to go home and grab me a new sweater because I was so wet. There was one time they were doing, this is like probably one of the funniest stories of working there, but they were doing construction in the barn. And so a lot of the pens were held together with like little wires and like clothespins, like super not well tied closed. And I was working the night shift, so it was probably like 11 p.m. or something. And so when you work there, it was me. So I was the milker, and then I'd work with one other person, and they're the person who like pushes up all the cows because they have to come from their pen into the parlor, which is where they get milked. And he comes running in there and he's like, Nicci. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, what happened? Like, he just looked so scared, and he's just like a funny guy. Like, not much really faces him. And he was like, something bad happened. And I was like, what? And he was like, the cows got out. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I go look outside, and there's just cows running all over the yard. And this is like in the middle of nowhere. It's not fenced in. And the owner of the dairy farm lives on the property. And it was like 11 o'clock or something. So I was like, oh my goodness. Like, they're probably like asleep or like about to go to bed. And I was like, he cannot look out his window. I was like, Ethan, we have to go like fix this. And then we could not fix it. There was like 15 cows loose in the middle of the night. And we were like,
yeah, how are you going to go get?
We went and knocked on, well, I did. The guy I was working with did not come with me. He stood scared while there was a cow eating the tree in the front yard of the owner. And I knocked on the door, and he comes out, but he just opens the door like a crack. And I was like, why is he not opening the door all the way? I was like, the cows got out. We need help. And he was like, okay, I'll be right out. And I realized it was because he was in his underwear. So
he was asleep.
he closed the door really fast, and he came out, and then we were just running around the whole yard in our rubber boots, like tripping over holes. And they were like, Nicci, you're fast, go get them. And I was like chasing after cows, and we eventually got them back in. But that was one of the most chaotic things that happened to me while I was working there. But
so when
it was
this
really
guy
fun.
Told you that you were a good worker, it was after this whole situation?
Yeah, it was after.
Wow.
I know.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I guess you could have been like the other guy and just stood there and then woke up the next morning and all of his cows were gone.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So
at least you didn't do that.
Yeah.
That's fun. I remember visiting a dairy farm as a kid and being like, yeah, no thanks. This is gnarly. So kudos. That's kind of gross. And then track and field. There is a ton of different events in track and field. So what did you do in track and field?
I started out as a sprinter. I did like 100, 200. And then I did hurdles as well when I began. And then I like kind of did that for a while. I really liked it. Hurdles was always really scary to me, but I still did it anyway. And then after I did track and field for like probably like in my second year of doing it, I started doing pole vault, and then pole vault became my like main thing that I liked to do that the most. It was the most enjoyable for me. Yeah.
Why was that more enjoyable?
I think because it's just there's so much going on. So it's like, no matter if I had a bad meet or a bad practice, there was always like some kind of positive takeaway, versus like sprinting. It was just so simple that like I felt like I hit my threshold, and then I was like, well, I'm not getting any faster, so I must not be getting any better. Like that was just kind of how I felt. And I was like, well, this is like annoying because I'm working so hard and I'm not getting faster. So I was like, well, what the heck? So doing pole vault was awesome because even if I didn't do it or like jump a higher height, I still was like, hey, my runway was way better, or like this part about my jump was a lot better and stuff like that. Plus, they did like training alongside at a gymnastic gym. So part of our like regular weekly training was we would go to a gymnastics gym and do like open gym basically. And we would do backflips and do muscle ups and like learn all of those things. And I loved it. So that was also a very big like contributor to, I was like, yeah, I want to keep doing this. Like, this is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of felt like two sports at that point.
A little bit, yeah. And because I did gymnastics when I was a kid, so I was just like, I can do a front handspring. Like, this is fun. And
yeah.
So it was just like fun.
Okay. And then high school ended. Did you have a plan?
I originally wanted to go to the University of Alberta and do track and field. And I wanted to try and get like track scholarships and kind of do that whole thing. But I got accepted in, and stuff with like the track scholarship, like I had reached out to the coach and they're like, yes, we like want to meet up with you, whatever. And then I don't know, things just kind of like fell through with it for some unknown reason. And then I was just like, well, I don't know what's going on with this. And I was supposed to get scholarships, but I like didn't have them for some reason. And so I decided to do YWAM in Australia instead. And so YWAM stands for Youth with a Mission. It's basically like it's kind of like a Christian missions organization. And so you go, there's like several schools basically all over the world. And you go there, you do like 3 months of kind of like Bible school, but like not super studious, I guess. You just get to like meet a super cool group of people and get to explore a new place and just build really awesome friendships. And then you get sent to a different country and you do like a 2-month missions trip.
So it's 5 months total.
Yeah, it's like 5.5 total months. Yeah. So yeah, I did that. And that was super fun. And that ended up being great. And that's kind of, yeah.
How did you decide on Australia? Was there other options or was that the only option?
Yeah, no. There were so many options. Like I could have gone anywhere in Europe. I could have gone to New Zealand. I could have gone to Hawaii. I could have gone, there's several in the States.
Because Australia and Canada are
basically the farthest apart you can get and nothing alike. Except for that we have colorful money. That's pretty cool. I don't know. I just felt like I wanted to go there.
Interesting.
I didn't want to go to California. I was like,
I can.
Yeah. I wanted to go somewhere where it was warm and where I could swim in the ocean, I think.
And did it matter? Does it matter in Australia if it's winter or summer? Is the water always warm?
The water's so warm.
Always?
I mean, when I was there, yeah, and I think I was there in their winter, so it was like 75 degrees, felt like on the coldest day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice.
It was super warm.
There's also a lot of things that can kill you there.
Yeah, but thankfully, I didn't really run into that many of those things.
Thankfully, nothing killed you?
Yeah.
Some pretty cool things happened there as well. You ended up meeting a ton of awesome people that you still know now, and one of them you actually married this year. What was his name? And tell us a little bit about Johnny.
Johnny is my husband. Yeah, we met in Australia, and then I decided to come back to California and just see how it is. And I just kind of stayed, and we were dating, and we just kept dating, and then we got married. So, he is a LA City firefighter paramedic, and he's also an LA County lifeguard in the summers.
He was neither of those things, though, when you met him.
He was a lifeguard when I met him.
For the state?
For state and county.
Was he a county lifeguard?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And then what else is something fun about that? You actually, your first roommate that you lived with here in
was somebody I went to Australia with as well, or I met her in Australia. Yeah.
Which is crazy small world, and that's part of why you ended up choosing Ventura was because she was also in Ventura.
Yeah, so in Australia we were roommates actually, and we just became super good friends super quickly, and yeah, it was super good time. And I was like, well, I want to go to school, but I don't want to go to school back in Saskatchewan. I was like, I mean, it's fine there, but I want to go do something new. And so I was like, well, she's a really good friend of mine. I was like, maybe I'll just go to school with her in California. And so that was part of the reason why I came out here as well, was so that we could go to school together. And just stay in touch. And then I had been here for about a little over a year. And she was like, oh, I'm moving to Ventura and I need roommates. Like, do you want to be one? And I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And so, yeah, we lived together for a year in Ventura. And now I've been in Ventura for like 3.5 years, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
Which probably feels like a lifetime for you.
Feels like a long time. Honestly, I'm like, wow, I've been here for so long.
And is a blip in the realm of time. When you moved out here, you also started going to school. Where did you go to school and what did you study?
I went to school at Ventura College and I wanted to be a physical therapist. I wanted to do that for, I don't know, several years since then. So probably since like grade 10 or 11, I was like, oh, I'm going to do physical therapy. I just like loved track and field and I loved athletics. And I was like, whatever, love helping people, love that kind of environment. And so I was like, physical therapy sounds great. And then I moved here, started doing my prereqs and stuff like that for physical therapy. And realized that physical therapy was going to be a very, very long road and a very expensive college journey. And I also started coaching here and I was like, I feel like coaching is great. And I feel like it's kind of scratching that itch that I had. And I was like, I don't know if I want this to just be it forever. And I realized around that time I found CrossFit as well. And I was like, I love doing CrossFit. I love being an athlete. And I didn't really want to be in a gym 24 hours of every day. I was like, I like to be in the gym for fun. And I don't know if I want to be in the gym for work all day, every day as well. So I was like, maybe, I don't know. I was just kind of making that realization and putting pieces together. And then Johnny is paramedic. And so when he went through paramedic school, he spent a lot of time in hospital and stuff like that. And then I just kind of started keying into nursing and meeting a lot of people who are nurses and just asking people about it and decided to maybe switch up and do nursing school. So then I took the prereqs that I needed to get into nursing school and I started that. And then I applied and I got in, which is insane. And I took my CNA and I like loved it, even though it's like a nasty job. I like really had fun. I was like, I guess I'm going to keep going on with this. I have not started nursing school yet. I have been accepted to start next fall.
Yeah.
So
and nearby, right? Moore Park College?
In Moore Park, yeah. Moore Park College. Mm-hmm.
Love that. That's going to be a really fun and different journey. I think it's pretty cool that you wanted that journey of like athleticism and helping people. And then you thought it was going to be a physical therapy route. And then ends up being, hey, maybe I can do what I wanted to do through coaching and not have it be hundreds of thousands of dollars in education and potentially even like see people before things happen.
Yeah.
Like be on the preventative side of it versus the aftermath of things. But honestly, being a nurse, you're going to see both sides of that. So pursuing that, you get to be in a clinical setting inside hospitals, and there's tons of different routes to go as a nurse. So that leaves, honestly, things so wide open for possibilities as well. You can walk into so many different areas or specialties as a nurse.
Which is also something that drew me in. I was like, if I don't like one area, then I'll just switch to another area. And it's just, I've met so many nurses and they have been nurses for 10, 20 years or however long. And I'm like, do you still like your job? And they're like, yeah, I love my job still. So like when you get bored, you just switch up whatever department you're working in. And so I like that.
Cool. We talked about Canada being landlocked, which means there wasn't oceans. Maybe there was swimming pools and maybe you swam, but I have a feeling there was a lot more snow than there was swimming pools in Canada. But you decided to swim for Ventura College as well.
Yeah.
And you just told us that you just took the ocean lifeguard test for the County of Los Angeles, which is probably one of the hardest lifeguard tests in the US, maybe not in the world, but in the US. You're also a surfer now, and probably anybody that sees you as like a full-on Cali girl.
Yeah.
How did that happen? How'd you go from like landlocked, not really a swimmer, to surfer, ocean swimmer, swim team, love being at the beach? Explain some of that to me.
Yeah. Yeah, the first time I ever saw the ocean, I was 14 years old.
Wow.
And it was in British Columbia, so it was like a cold, very cold ocean. And then the next year we went to San Diego, and that was the first time I had been to California. Like I was 15, I think, 14 or 15. That was the first time I had experienced like real waves and stuff like that. And I just remember getting like demolished. It was probably like 1 foot, but me and my siblings would just play in the ocean so much. So I feel like as a kid and like growing up, like we always just went on adventures, and I loved being in the water. We would go in rivers and lakes, and so that wasn't the ocean, but I just like loved the water. And then I went to Australia, obviously, and I got to experience like an amazing version of the ocean, which was really super cool. But yeah, Johnny and I started dating when I came to California, and he loves the ocean, and he like spearfishes and fishes and surfs and like just loves to be in it all the time and do all the things that you can do in it. And I was like, well, I am not going to be the girlfriend who sits on the beach and just watches him surf every time. I was like, no way. So I was like, I'm going to figure this out. And I was like, I'm going to just do it. I was like, if I like were to look back at my life and I like lived here, I lived this close to the ocean, and I didn't like at least try and learn these things, I would be so disappointed in myself. Like it's such a gift, and it's such an opportunity to live this close to the ocean. Even when I was living in Simi Valley and I was 45 minutes away, I was like, this is like an insane opportunity that I'd never had before. And it blew my mind to find out that people live here and like go to the beach like once a year, or like don't know how to surf at all. And I was like, that's crazy to me. And it just feels like a wasted gift, honestly, to me. But so I was like, there's no way I'm gonna like let that opportunity slide. And so I just figured it out. I just was like, I'm gonna do this, and I just kept trying and trying again. And there was tears, and it was really hard. And I was like, I do not know how people surf, and I'm still like always like learning and always wanting to get better. And I feel like you can never reach like a limit in the ocean. There's always something else you can improve on or get better at, or just like learn. And so when I moved to Ventura, I got my own surfboard, and that was kind of like the real start of like, I would just go like 3 or 4 or 5 times a week, and I would go by myself, and I would maybe catch waves, or I maybe wouldn't. I would wipe out, or I wouldn't, and whatever. And I would just go as much as I could until I was like, okay, I am figuring it out. And I would just continue to always have the posture of like trying again, and always have the posture of like, what can I learn from somebody out there or myself, or just always. And then like always at the end of the day, taking it as like, this is like a gift that I have to be in the ocean. Like whether it's good or bad or windy, or like there's swell or it's not, I got demolished or whatever, is like, I get to be in the ocean, and like, that's crazy. So yeah.
It did blow my mind. Coming from Arizona, I see the same thing. I was landlocked, and I was a water athlete, but there was no ocean. And like learning that there were so many people that never go to the ocean, don't go to the beach, don't know how to swim, don't know how to surf. And this thing is so close to us. I definitely, like, practical Kolby says, we pay insane prices, and the reason is that ocean is right there.
Yeah.
So I better take advantage of that. And then the more sensitive Kolby is like, the ocean is such a cool thing. Like, it is so awesome and powerful, and you have to respect it, and it's always changing. That it like, it is a massive disservice to yourself to not like be there, be a part of it. So I think that's kind of cool. And then when I learned how to surf, in my opinion, surfing still to this day was the hardest thing that I've ever learned how to do. And I feel like I've learned how to do a lot of different things. Do you feel like surfing was also the hardest thing you've ever learned?
Also learning how to swim. Back to your Ventura College swim team. I totally forgot about that point. Anyway, like circling back to that, I like Johnny was a lifeguard, and I was like, well, I want to try to be a lifeguard. And he's like, well, you have to learn how to swim. And I was like, I can swim. I was like, I know how to swim. And I remember he took me, him and his sister, we went to like a lap swim one day. And he was like, okay, we're going to swim. And I could barely make it 25 meters.
Wow.
I was like, I feel like I'm going to die. I was like, I'm literally going to drown. I was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how people do this. And so I just started, and I would go lap swimming. Not that much, but sometimes, and I would just slowly get better. And then I was like, well, if I want to be a lifeguard, I have to actually learn how to swim. And I just contacted the Ventura College swim team coach, and I was like, hey, I have no pool experience. I won't drown. Like I took swimming lessons when I was a kid. Like I could swim, but I was not a swimmer. And so she was like, yeah, come. And so I showed up on first day, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is probably one of the scariest things I've ever done in my life. And I did it. I did swim team the whole year. Showed up to like every practice, and I was like, I'm going to do this. And that was probably one of the best things I did for myself.
For sure.
Because I can swim now. Am I super fast? No, but I can swim.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have well above average swimming competency. I would say you're not an excellent swimmer, but
compared to the pool swimmers in the world, absolutely not. But
I mean, compared to the average person who swims at the pool, yeah, you're probably better than 80% of them. Of course, there's the swim team alumni that's been there for 50 years and still can beat you. But the average person who goes and does lap swim, you're still faster than most of those people. Also incredible. That allowed you to take this test this last weekend to be an ocean lifeguard for the County of Los Angeles. That's a massive step. Again, you might not be an excellent swimmer, quote unquote, but those are the highest level swimmers that you could do an ocean lifeguard test with. So let's kind of circle finally into some CrossFit stuff. Like, I didn't find out about you because you became a member at the gym. How did we meet, and how did you end up at Oxnard Movement?
I think the first time I met you was at like a lifeguard event, like in the parking lot. Like I met you for like 5 seconds. Johnny was like, this is like Kolby and Liz, and like he did academy with Liz. So he was like, you have to meet Liz, she's so awesome, like you guys are gonna be best friends. I was like, okay. I was like, I don't know who these people are. I was like, I'm like 10 years younger than all of these people here.
You're Johnny's new girlfriend
was just
at
like
the time.
The new girlfriend, and I was a little baby, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just moved here and I don't know how to do anything in the ocean. So I was super intimidated. But I think that was like the first time I actually like was introduced to you. But then,
do you remember that?
Yeah.
I don't remember you from that.
Yeah, because I think we met for like 5 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the first time I think we had a real conversation is we were hanging out with some lifeguard friends, and they're like, oh my gosh, come to our boat. And you came by. You were like at the harbor, like on your boat, and you came by and started hanging out with us. And then it came up somehow that I wanted to start CrossFit, and I had kind of been like dropping into or just seen like in Ventura. I went to Persistence for a second to just check it out. And I was like, I don't know anything that I'm doing. One of my friends was going there. She was like, yeah, you should just come here. So I like went there for like a month to just see what I was like. I want to do CrossFit, and they just let me like try it. And I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing though. And they're like, come to my gym. And I was like, okay, I'll come try it out. I was like, I have no idea. He's like, I'll like, whatever, just come and I'll like show you what's up and I'll like teach you how to do stuff. Because I was
think
like,
I gave you a couple of the foundation sessions as well.
You gave me some foundation sessions for free, which is super duper helpful. Even though I was an athlete in high school, like I had never done a snatch before. I had never done a clean before. I didn't know like what the proper like order of events was for most weightlifting things. So that was super duper helpful. And I was like, well, I guess I'm just gonna stay here. I was like, I just like it and it was good. And yeah, then I found CrossFit and I quickly fell in love with CrossFit and I'm still here.
Yeah. And you ended up doing the CDP a year after you were a member.
I don't know. Something like that.
I think it was like a year after you were a member. And the CDP was long. I guess you have nothing else to compare it to as far as what does it look like to be a coach anywhere else or training for anything else. But now people who are new members have never seen that journey from you. They just see Coach Nicci as she is right now. You've probably also gained 15 pounds of muscle since starting?
I don't know. When I first came here, I think I was like 130 pounds. And now I'm like 155. So
okay, so 25 pounds of muscle. That's also a very difficult thing to do. You kind of underplayed some of this. You say you love CrossFit or you like CrossFit. You spent almost an entire full year of training 4 to 6 hours on a daily basis, and eating a lot of food. A lot of food.
Yeah.
So gaining
eating a lot of food.
The gaining of the weight was not because you were a CrossFit member.
No.
That was an intentional goal that was set and put forth with lots of training and lots of food.
Yeah. It took me a while to realize that I need to eat a lot more food. I didn't realize that right away.
Yeah.
And I was really thin for a second. Like I look back at pictures and I'm like, I probably had like 5% body fat. I was like, because I was doing swim team and CrossFit and definitely not eating enough.
Yeah.
Like not intentionally. It was just like,
yeah,
I'm just eating what I normally eat. And I was
withering away.
This is not enough. I'm too tired for this. So yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything else you want to share with anybody from the gym? Any more fun stories about anything?
I don't know.
Okay. Doesn't have to be.
No, I don't. Not that I can think of
if
on the spot.
Somebody wants to reach out to you about your journey or about coaching or about nursing or, just asking questions about stuff. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. I guess would probably be the easiest way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll put that down in the show notes.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to talk. I love chatting with people. So if anybody ever wants to just ask questions.
Yes. And for the next, this is what I was thinking, but for the next 12 months or so, Nicci is also a nanny / babysitter. So if anybody's listening and needs a babysitter or needs a nanny, I would trust her with my own kids. So, all right. Thanks for being on here, Nicci. I'm sure that everyone's going to enjoy listening to this podcast episode, and we'll see you all next week.
Okay.